your break and get them to sign it. They don't know what you're going to do next. Take this and place it on. I'll run through I call it the anomalous turnover. In fact, it was a throwaway. It really wasn't what he was explaining. He was really talking about an ambitious card thing with the changing of cards. I said, God, that's an incredible way to do a change. Now you've got his card, or her card in this case, signed on the top. And under it is the duplicate of that card. Okay? I do another pinky, and false shuffle if you want, but really there's no logic in false shuffle except it connects and they're all mixed. And turn it over, there's the duplicate. You get that signed. Oh no, I don't want to sign that one. I want to sign it on the back. As if, oh, hey, we wouldn't sign them both on the face. When you turn this over, you're actually signing the back of the already signed card. So you're into this position. You're there now, and you do a Mexican turnover, or a part of a Mexican turnover. And it's done before anyone knows. You say your card was the 7 of clubs, and yours was the 4 of diamonds, or whatever it was, the 2 of hearts, and it's done. There's the 7 of clubs. You could probably even hold it like that. And as far as they're concerned, the trick hasn't reached its denouement, finish yet. So they're still a bit puzzled, and they're not burning your hands to any great extent. Then play the game, because this is fun. If you do it this way, that's the last time you'll have the upper hand. It's really worth doing. I don't know why it seems to get. They've done it 100 times, and they still squeal and laugh. The two involved, what make it, as you know, close up. And so you have that, and you say your card was the 7 of clubs, and you sign it. Again, spinning it. And you signed it very well, I know. But you know, the amazing thing is, with all this emotion, it's driven the signature through. Make a big thing of that, so people don't see it, the whole thing is lost. Now they're beginning to realize you signed it, but you know your signature went all the way through and you showed them that. So that when they finish up, you've got to sign both sides, and the joy of this is they've got a souvenir of your act. And I can't think of a nicer way of doing it. So that is explained also in my notes, because you may sort of take any, but it is. If you learn only one thing, learn the anomalous turnover. Let's take it as an ambitious card trick. And you brought a card, this may be your 7 of diamonds, you brought it to the top. You prepare for the anomalous, which to me is, I do the pinky again, countdown. But as long as you can do a reasonable double lift, you're into that position, you turn it over and place it on there, put it in, and it's back up. Just you did it into your hand, that's all. And yet it's striking because it's so clear. And you wouldn't overdo it, but I'd do that 2 or 3 times. This damn thing won't go away. That's really what the rain pushed. And I said, well, how are we going to do that? Let's use it to put it down on the table and change a card on the table. 9 of spades. And there are all kinds of opportunities for this kind of thing, as you know. There, put this, you're talking, and it's changed. You won't find it an easier, I don't think you'll find an easier change, because it's totally covered by the pack of cards. Needs a little practice. All these things, I make it look easy, but I've only done it 500 times. And there's, when you're doing it, turn your wrist slightly to the right. You've taken your double here. Do a paintbrush, sort of pull off there so you can clean it up a bit, but you're moving fast, and your hand is turning at the same time. And so it covers it covers the break. It's very natural, and you've got a different card. Any questions on that, or anything that I've done? All clear as mud? Great, thank you very much.
I don't know how your voice is holding up.
Fine.
Okay. We can't come to the end of the time we'd allowed for Ron, but you seem to have captured these people.
Well, kind of magic therapy.
Yeah, I'd like you to do that, and maybe have a kind of a grand finale trick where you throw money at the audience.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And Ron mentioned if you have questions at all, please fire them out. It's a chance to pick somebody else's brain. When you've been in the business as long as he has, he's probably made every mistake possible.
Yes. and more.
discovered ways how to recover. I think that's important, is how will you recover. You have them keep the engine running while you do your work.
So any questions for either member one, and if not, then perhaps you would talk about your project magic.
Yeah, that is a point about mistakes. Mistakes usually only become manifest because you're so aware of them yourself. A very trite statement, but it is true. If the audience doesn't really know what you're leading towards, and in most tricks, the better tricks, the result shouldn't be that evident right from the beginning, or most of the trick is kind of lost. Even with the 4-ace presentation, they know somehow you can get 4 aces, but there's still little elements of surprise you go on. So if you can make a mistake and see some way to fashion your way out of it, do so. But the worst thing you can possibly do would be in total disaster and try to carry on. The best thing then is to admit that you had a little trouble with this one. You know, and this is not my day, and you know, I got off past 13 and walked in here, I practically tripped on the step. People are very forgiving. They really are. They want you to do well for the most part. They're not out there to get you. They're the odd person, but quite often, most audiences, that odd person is taken care of by other people who want to see the show. So, don't get too exercised. If you're making a lot of mistakes, then damn well don't do magic. Or until you've improved yourself. You deserve to get taken apart. So, you know, there's a difference between making a mistake even with all the practice, or not practicing at all, making mistakes, and then you have, you don't deserve any sympathy at all. Okay, Project Magic, just quickly. It's a real hobby also, man. I've been doing it for about 14 years. It was started by David Copperfield in the 80s, serendipitously. He corresponded with a lot of young magicians who are in hospitals of various kinds. This was in a hospital in the States, a rehabilitation type of hospital. The young fellow was about 19 years old and had multiple paralysis. And he had written, either through probably a nurse or an aide, to David Copperfield a number of times, asking David questions and seeking some kind of assistance. But he'd nowhere said that he was an individual in one of these institutions. Then he sent a picture to David of himself in a wheelchair, and David Copperfield said, "Holy smoke. Not only can I help this guy, but I'll probably get some good publicity out of it." I mean, we got to be a bit crass, but I mean, that's fine. You're doing good works, you'll agree with that. At times you can allow yourself to take advantage. So, anyway, David Copperfield visited the institution because he was in that area, met the young man in the wheelchair, and showed him a trick. It was a very basic rope trick, you know, tying the knot with the hands and making a knot. A little bit of finger thing, but very simple, for entertainment purposes. And then he did a little bit more, and the young man said, "Yeah, very nice, but let me do it. Show me how to do it." He's surrounded with, you know, all the high and mighty in the hospital, the therapists and the doctors and the specialists who come to see the great magician. And here's the kid is asking, he says, "I mean, do you mind if I try?" "Oh, yeah, try." And within half an hour, apparently, of that situation, he had this young fellow who had very limited use of his hands, making a basic knot, magic knot. You know, all the one we can make so quickly with our hands when we put them apart. But don't forget, this kid had real limitations. And this really drew a remarkable response from the therapeutic team. And it's explicable in psychological and physiological terms that the brain apparently seeks the shortest route to the achievement of its goals in most cases, like picking up a knife and fork, and all the things that we do that are routine. If you can establish an alternate path through the brain by any means, then you have a hope of perhaps getting the same kind of action, but you've used a different channel. Very basic. That's the thinking of what can help in the use of therapy for magic. Copperfield then got into it with lots of advisors, set up a foundation in California, and it went like wildfire in the early 80s, and yes, in the early 80s. 35 countries in the world picked this up for volunteering by local magic groups who would use magic in rehabilitation institutions to assist patients in their either in cognitive development or in manipulative development of the hands and fingers. And you can well understand how magic could be used for this. It went hellfire for a long time, and probably there were literally hundreds, if not thousands, of magicians in the world who got involved. Unfortunately, the foundation began to fall apart for many reasons, probably for lack of specific attention from David Copperfield. Not in a cruel sense, he has so many other damn things to do, he just couldn't keep up with that. The foundation fell apart, and lots of magic clubs, maybe even including yourselves, could get no response to questions they asked about what is Project Magic, what do we do, where do we go. About 2 years ago, in a Linking Ring magazine, or not even plugs that, a couple by the name of Spencers, who are illusionists in the States, had picked up on Project Magic, also in the late 80s, and had taken it up themselves independently because they couldn't get answers from the Copperfield Foundation, and developed something called the healing of magic. The healing of magic basically is a parallel approach, therapeutic magic, to be taught by magicians and therapists to people in institutions. The main difference was that healing of magic was teaching magic to the therapists, so the therapists would then do the magic with their patients. Whereas Copperfield's magic is done by the magician, assisted by the therapists for the patients. I like the Copperfield approach, and so I spoke with the Spencers and said, can we integrate the two? Copperfield doesn't want to get involved in this specifically. I went to the IBM, we developed, a paper, about 40 pages long, that kind of thing, to justify what we were doing in the middle of all that horrible political problems I have at the moment in the IBM. And it was agreed, and the program was sold. There's an official program of the IBM now, the use of magic for therapeutic benefit. It's called Magic Therapy, as you'd expect, and it is administered by the Spencers through their program called Healing of Magic. I've done, I don't care what they call it, I just call it magic therapy. I don't necessarily want to be attached to any particular people who do it. You don't have to. You can do it yourselves. I've done about 500-600 sessions of this with patients. And I'm learning all the time. And what you do is you work with occupational and recreational therapists, and sometimes a psychologist. I used to work with psychologists quite a lot, because they were interested in the reaction of the patients to what you did. So it allowed them to tailor particular therapy for them. I would discuss the frailties of the individuals. Initially, I had stroke patients, people coming out of comas, even cancer patients, and all you could really basically do was to give them a lift by showing your confidence in them. But I always approached it in that you're going to do the magic. This is not me going to entertain. Forget that. That's another thing altogether. You go to the children's hospital, you put on a show, there's a therapeutic benefit, no argument about that, but it's passive. The kid sits there, is bewildered, loves it, sees what's going on, and forgets it. The same with adults. They watch a magic show for the most part, it's gone. And the same if you're going to show magic in a hospital, it gives them a lift for a while. Magic therapy, you actually take that individual and you teach them. And almost everyone can learn some magic. They can, even if it's the basic thing of picking up a sponge ball, pretending to put it in a hand, with a palsied hand, you can teach them. Not that they're going to fool too many people with the sense of accomplishment. I've advanced into cognitive because it appeals to me more. I have classes of about 6 or 8. They're at a fairly high level. They've almost all been in car accidents, motorcycle. Many of them you can't tell have brain problems, but they do. And I have a modality that is actually given to me by the Gorge Road Hospital in Victoria. They don't even come and watch me anymore. I just do my stuff. They give me a class, a group, mostly outpatients now, and they come in and they have a ball and they love it. And I use cards. They're at a cognitive level where they can understand cards. Most of them can play cards, because if you're in hospital, often that's what you're doing anyway, you're playing cards. And cards can be used to form all kinds of challenges. And so I developed a program for that particular group, finding out what level they are, built on cards, demonstrate how it should be done, teach them how to do it, give them a little homework to go and do it, come back, practice in front of each other. You're creating all kinds of stresses for them, but you can control the stress, back off if they're beginning to show indications of being under stress and so on. And I run about a 6, 7, 8 week course. It's only 1 hour a week. Probably could be more, but there are lots of other things these people get involved in. And they always ask for more. They're always asked back. I use the members of the Victorian Magic Circle to come in and help me. I have another chap who's in his late 70s, moving on to 80, who has been 2 years following me along, and now he runs his own little therapeutic group. And he has become a pretty damn good magician. It isn't one way. I'll tell you, every time you have to get up and teach, or talk in front of people, and use your hands and brain at the same time, you become a better magician. You can't avoid it, it just happens. And this fellow that I've watched from a nervous wreck every time, 78 years old, and he only started magic at 76 or something, and he used to come to the club and sit there, and I said, come along, as now does very respectable card tricks, and with a great deal of confidence. So not only is the therapy work for the patients, but it's provided him a source of enjoyment. I am so keen on this that I will work through your executive, through your president or the secretary, Gilwild, whoever, through the email to let you know how you can contact, now it will be the Spencers for the Healing of Magic. The Healing of Magic is this book, which really is, it's got some of my psychology in the front of, because I don't think doing tricks for people is therapy. I think there's a lot more to it than that. And then the Spencers agreed that there are lots of tricks in here which are very good for teaching to people who have various afflictions of all kinds, you know, rubber bands across the fingers and all that stuff. Not very complicated, but again, you'd be surprised how adept you become. And with a lot of the principles, psychology, a lot of that's my own. So if I'm dealing with the club, it'll probably be recommending this because it's the IBM program. It's largely responsible. Any questions on anything before I vanish?
I have a little observation with regard to that trick where you showed your little business cards
Yes.
and tore them into pieces. Because of not being able to tear the cards, which is a possibility.
Yes, definitely. That's good.
Won't it be better if you carried a small pair of scissors in your pocket?
I'll tell you the thinking on this. This is a test for which positive results don't really matter. You see, I agree with you, but it seems it's an intrusion somehow into the flow of action to take out scissors. And I'll tell you, unless they're damn good scissors, they're probably going to have almost as much if you try it. So, amazingly enough, most women, I find, have quite strong fingers. And while I'm struggling a bit, woman's waiting there with the 8 pieces. I have had when they've got through to, they always can get the 2 and the 4. And if they have a problem with the 8, it leads to the perfect comment. Your math is great. You may not be very strong, but you know the compensation is your emotion. Then you go into the next. It's almost like it was set up. In fact, Gene Anderson and I were laughing about this. He said, you probably get the most wild reaction out of this when it doesn't go exactly the way you expect. Someone drops one of the pieces. You know, this piece with one not having the X on it. You know Gene Anderson is a real card. And he he thought that was great. He'd go around kissing all the women. Had a lot of slapping going on. So, any other questions?
When you want to do a single card production,
Yes.
show your hand empty on both sides. Like you can put the card into the back palm position, but I'm not sure the finger you can put it when you.
The front?
Yeah. I'm new, that's why I only asked some.
Well, I mean, you have to bend your hand over as you do it. So you're part of the disguise, or is even Juliana Chen does that. She puts it, quite often she'll just lower her hand and the actual change is done as it goes behind. So from there.
So how do you, and to turn it over, you just. Oh. And then this first is down. Okay.
My hands are getting a little old, but when I was 25, they were probably rolling around, I can't remember. No. Matter of fact, what happens as you get older, you lose some facility, but you make up for it in other ways. It's extraordinary. I'm still as nervous, though, almost as I was as a kid, but for different reasons. A kid, it was excitement that made me nervous. Not fear. I couldn't fail. But I was so excited, I was that kind of nervous. My nervosity, or whatever you want now, is because I'm so proud of magic that I don't want to fail it. I don't want to let down magic by doing a lousy trick or a lousy show. That's what makes me nervous. So you see how things change as you go along. I'm sure you've got that in you.
One, so there are no more questions. You certainly haven't let down magic at all in the eyes of the group. John Vanderpool has agreed to let us use his email. I'd spoken with Ron earlier about this. That's the message. That's John Vanderpool. He doesn't write very well. That's trouble with English. But that's his email address. And if you have any information that
I'll send it to him.
send it, yeah. And John will make sure that we get it as a group.
You bet. Oh, it's worth getting involved.
Personally, I'd like to thank you for what you have done here, but I'd also like to call on our president, Dr. Briggs, to thank you more formally.
Before you do that, sir, can I just say that I made these up myself. They're pretty damn comprehensive notes of everything that's been done, including a prize-winning trick, which I didn't do because we didn't have time, unfortunately, but next time. And I was going to charge virtually nothing, but I was persuaded that if these were for adults for $8, it would be almost a giveaway. That was not me who said that, because normally they're more expensive, apparently. And for the juniors, $5. That's to cover the cost. You know, I haven't printed that. Sorry, that's crass.
No, thank you very much for coming here. And we really enjoyed your presentation, and I'm sure all the other members of Magic Circle will agree with me that we learned a lot of new tricks, a lot of new points, and we really appreciate you taking your time on therapeutic medicine. Did you practice with positions? You practice the same thing in a possibly slightly different way, but may not be as efficient as yours.
Well,
As a token of our appreciation, we have a little present to all our lecturers, and I hope you will accept it.
thank you very much. Magic worthwhile, really. Getting out and meeting other magicians and letting it come out of yourself. And 55 years, you can sit bottled up at home and do magic for the mirror. Or go out and bring some of this joy, ideas to other people. That's really very significant. So I appreciate it. And from Victoria Magic Circle, ring 183, bring ring 66, lots of welcoming. Best regards for you. And just in case, I don't know if any of you know Ernie Crockford. He's about moving up towards 90. comes out with some of my senior shows and performances. And we're going to be, please don't, if anyone knows it, don't tell them, but on the 30th of June, we're renaming the Victoria Magic Circle to Victoria Magic Circle, the Ernie Crockford Ring 183, in recognition of a man who's done 65 years in support of magic. And I will be asking, maybe the ring could just send an email message to an email address I'll give you, just saying from Ring 66, Calgary, all the best earners. And we'll read it out at the dinner. Thanks. And that's exactly what I have done. Now, let me just take, I made a couple of these up here for you. You take a business card, blank, which you can buy easily. These are the blank kind. That I'll put aside for the moment because I'm just going to go through a process first. You just mark one card like that. My notes have this gimmick in. It's very expensive. In case my explanation isn't good enough. But it's like that. You place that on the top and you turn it over, so now it's the bottom. So in effect, it's the bottom card of the pack. And the red X's, or whatever you put, are towards you. And then I put it in anything that I can tell which end is up and which side. So I now know that this little thing, or whatever I put it in, the back end of that has the X's facing up. Okay. Use whatever story you wish. I think this is kind of a cute story. And this is developed. It was called Extraordinary Transfer when it was in the Linking Ring in 1973 or something like that. And a number of magicians picked it up. One very well British magician by the name of Rowe, W.E. He said, when he got hold of this, geez, I love that trick. It's the kind of you can carry around in your pocket and play it with your girlfriend and all the rest of it. And Gene Anderson, who's a guy of mine, picked it up and he says, that's ideal. And they all focused on the idea of the kiss. I had the X, but I didn't think of the idea of calling the X the kiss. It was just an extraordinary transfer. So I thought, the kiss is nice because of the fitting of the back. Okay, reason why it's this way. You take these out, and you're blaring away about these being your business cards, and the business has not been so good recently. As you can see, they're all blank. Well, they are. Handle them very casually. Even if you happen to expose the bottom ones yourself, you are here, no one's going to see it. So just don't worry about it. Just do a normal riffle, and get the best looking lady you could possibly get up, just like that. And, you know what you're looking for here at the end result. So look for the person you feel is going to go along with the game. You can notice that in an audience, or you've been watching beforehand. So you get a sense that this lady's going to play along. And they're the fun ones. You can maybe stretch things a little bit more than that. Okay, she takes one, whichever one it happens to be, and it doesn't matter. Meantime, I put those on the table, but I put them, I just turn my hand over. Now you might say, why not have the second one? Well, because sometimes you get a rather stubborn person, they'll take the top of the second card. So to really guarantee your safety, I put it on the bottom. And it's such a natural action, you put them down like that. And because you don't make anything of it. Now this card has got 4 X's at the back. Back end. Now, Michelin, please, thank you. Now I want you to, I'm going to give you this little test. What the hell are we doing otherwise? You're going to have this little test here. I promise I won't embarrass you. It's very important because this person is scared. You've got to ask them trigonometry questions and calculus. They're naturally scared because you want to create some little bit of tension with the audience as well. Anyway, she's hanging on to it. You immediately pick it up. So look, I'll help you. I'll show you what to do. Gives you the excuse of the hell is appearance. They all look alike to me. So, totally natural. Don't put much weight on it. It's not that damn important. It shouldn't be. If you really steer it, try and get it exactly down the middle. Then you put more importance than it deserves. Right, I'll just go through this. Imagine she's doing the same. If anything, slightly over to the other half, because you don't want to stare into the X's. Immediately this goes under there. The modus operandi vanishes. Because you can show it. Don't sort of say that. You could see it enough times in the casual sort of movement. I don't have to draw attention to it. She's doing the same, you're playing it along. Turn it around, and you do exactly the same again. Show, goes under, you're talking up the numbers, what you're doing. Once again, this is now going to be in 4, and it is actually quite tough to tear, especially if it gets damp, because certain types of cardboard get very difficult. And you may need to experiment a bit in deciding the best cardboard, because ink bleeds through some of them too. It shows right there. Okay. Doesn't matter how you've done it, every other card now has an X on it. Fortunately, the top and bottom ones don't show it. So you can be very careful. Vanishing, thank you. That's lovely. You did extremely well. You passed the test. We're going into the emotional test now. And you just take her 8 pieces and say, that's fine, you've passed. As if that's what was needed for that. Don't draw attention particularly to the need for these. Just carry on. Her 2 hands are out. There they are. There's one and there's the other. Well, one here. The first one obviously has an X on it. It'll go onto the right hand, okay? Imagine it's you. Left, right, and then I sort of stop. Don't show it every time, because why are you only showing one side? It just emphasis. Then again, 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 and the last one, and the last. Now, it doesn't matter which hand they choose here. If Michael had said the left hand, I said, that's great, I'll use those, and I take them. That's just what I need. He said his right hand, which suits me even better, because this is where I want to leave them. And I had them placed on his hand, if you notice, not in his palm, not at the end of his fingers, but just about at the crease. So I said, that's fine, and I turned his hand over, and that automatically turns them over. If you've got lots of confidence, you can just tell her to close her hand. But what I would do is I'd do that, and that automatically turns them over. So they're like that. You don't want to do it prematurely, so turn it over. Just protection. You now go through the mumbo-jumbo stuff, under the... But don't go straight from that into this. I think there's got to be some connection. And you'll find one. The buttercup things, or the thing under the chin. And a lot of girls think that's kind of funny, and they go along with that. And then I've actually, after you've played it up enough, depending on their nature, and they open it, ah! And they look, and they really are rather surprised to find the 4 X's. There. Explanation clear? Geez, too bloody easy, isn't it? Okay, now, few thoughts on this, because sometimes, if you're really feeling your oats, I only have 3 X's and a blank. You can probably beat me to the thinking on this one. You know, she says, but there are only 3 kisses there, and you've got 4 pieces. That's when you kiss her. Okay, I might get away with it, it's true. You get beyond a certain stage, you do get away with it. You gotta watch it. That's something you really have to watch. Now, we were back to some alternatives to this. This alternative came up with Gene Anderson and I. We had a lot of fun with it. I tried it. It has actually a rather extraordinary effect on people. Michael, can you come back again just for a second? Yeah, you're doing sit down. But it's not to do the tearing, but we won't go through all that. It's not really a card trick, but the cards are used. Okay. Show them and do whatever business you want to start with. And you say, Madam, close your eyes. I want you to imagine you're cutting cards at a certain place. Could be be the top half, the middle, and the bottom. Now reach your hand out. Back cards, please. Open your eye. And actually cut as close to where you had in your imagination. Place the cards there. And were you thinking about 2/3 the way down? Or 3/4? Yes. Yeah, well, very good. Okay. Now, all you've done is the cross horse, of course, but you've set it up in a kind of cute way. I'll tell you about the cross horse in a moment, as being one of the best from the results that I've had. Now, we go through the same damn process. Card is torn. Let me do this. You'd be doing your bit, you know. And the same idea of emotion and all the rest of it. Get up to the 8 pieces. The point I'm making here is it's your imagination to develop a trick like this into something very worthwhile. Would you open your hands and then do the same thing, remember placing it on to the fingers. And don't put one on the palm, one on there, that kind of looks obvious. Spread them out a bit. I count so that people, I convince myself, 4, and of course 4. Now, I first of all turn those over in the same fashion, turn these over in the same fashion, turn them over. Excellent. See the difference here? I didn't take them out this time. Now, before we start, you had in your mind a certain place to cut the cards. Only you knew that. You then cut the cards at this particular position. So we have here unknown cards from 3/4 to 2/3 way down. I'm going to take the top card here and I'm going to rub it over your right hand. Now will you turn your hand over slowly? I'll show you what I have here are the 4 clubs. Will you open your hand, please, and tell me you now have the 4 clubs in your hand. Now, that's the kind of lead-in. That's a climax in itself. But I believe, Michael, and relax, please, that's brilliant. I believe you can do this yourself. I'll take the next card, and I'll rub it here. And it's impossible. I want you to think of any card. You got it in mind? Right. Turn your hand over, and let's see what it is. What is it?
It's blank.
Look at both sides. Totally?
Yep.
Just like the card. So we've gone from maybe I didn't, so he made a mistake or something, or it's impossible because it isn't. I don't know damn where. I mean, if I could do that, I wouldn't be here. So there's nothing more to it than doing it with obviously the 4 clubs. The setup here, I tell you, is 4 of clubs, or 4 of hearts, or 4 of diamonds. Keep it to a small number, 4, because you've got 4 pieces. Very hard to follow. And here, watch for the bleeding. You're far enough away here, but at times with certain light, black will show through. It won't here, you're far enough away anyway. And in fact, I'm a perfectionist. I don't like anything to show anywhere that can be avoided, but I've seen people practically bled through no one notices. It's you worry more than you know how it is. Thanks very much, man. And you do the cross horse, literally. Shuffle the pack, keeping the top 2 cards in place by whichever means you want to do it in there. Nice, no glitzy shuffles. This isn't a place for any kind of show. It's just very casual. Now, the cross horse, let me tell you, one trick that I do, and I'm asked to do it every damn show, doesn't matter how complex the act. I may be doing some quite difficult finger flinging stuff, and they say, I want to see that one with the... No, that's the cross horse. It'll be too long for me to spread it out for you, but what I do is I come in with a small envelope in which are 2 cards, and I hand it to a lady who's sitting in the close-up there. Just ask her to look after, put it in her purse, and make it rather important. I then have the 2 cards on the top to start with. I shuffle the cards and they see the bottom, and then I then do a double undercut, which you all obviously know what the double undercut is, to the bottom, so the top card goes to the bottom, and I go into then the shuffle, leaving the top and the bottom cards in place, whichever they happen to be. So that's not complicated stuff. You can have it on the top and bottom to start with, but you can't handle the cards. So the idea is to finish with the top and bottom cards, so you have 2 force cards. Then I asked them to do pretty well what you did, Michael. Close their eyes and put their hand out, one hand. And you say, I'm going to put the pack on your hand. And I stroke their hand a little bit. No, this isn't a sexual overtone. I mean, it's just, and you say, very seriously, this is a serious thing. This is mind reading. I want you to think you're cutting the cards with your right hand. I want you to close it over the invisible pack, and you can cut it, and you suggest a number like quarter, half, 2/3, 3/4, to leave an impression that they're not going to say 13 cards down, but a position. When they've done it, please open your eyes. You have that position in your mind. Would you please transfer that position to the cutting of the cards here as close as you possibly can and see if I can guess. Getting rid of most ideas of the crossroads. Person, then you see them. Are you sure that's close? They do that. That's terrific. Now, I think you were probably trying to cut about 2/3 the way down. Is that correct? You diverted attention right away from the significant action. This is put aside for the moment. Madam, before we started, I gave you a very small envelope. May I have it, please? Take it. And in it, I shake out 2 miniature cards, about that size. Not 2 miniature, about that size. And I know the order of those 2 cards. One goes to the left, one right, and they both face down. Stop. I then turn this side over and I leave that side. These are the 2 force cards, of course, from the crossroads. You'd be surprised at the reaction when you turn over the first of the small cards and it matches this one. You suddenly got their attention because they think, well, she only thought about what she was going to do. Well, shuffle back out. She had the thing in her pocket all the time. Turn over the other one and it's not a blank, but whatever the other one is. You got the idea? What I'm trying to tell you is the fact of the simplicity of that couldn't be simpler. But the fact is so marked that of all the tricks I do, that may be the first one people ask to see again. It makes me mad as a hell. You know, because you say, geez, did all that work? But actually, I didn't get to that situation with the crossbows until I've been doing magic for about 45, 50 years, that you boil it down to the simple things. And no one has ever challenged me on it. So it's a psychological thing. Okay, we've got through the swim, we got into that. And now, let's see here. Yeah. Okay, that's right. Trying to get the correct order here. A lot of these things, of course, are going to be. This is a stage kind of thing. We're not on a stage. It should be done to music, so everything is wrong. But apart from that, you can imagine that you're listening to a delightful piece of music, the magician's on, shows this gorgeous silk. He demonstrates that his left hand is empty, and he also, hopefully, demonstrates that his right hand is empty. Excuse me of these things, as this just impossible. Okay. We'll go through that because that's awful, the way it's done there. Actually, out of here, you can make coins rise. You pick them up, billiard balls start. Okay? Don't worry about this. It's just the principle that I want to get across to you. And however many you want go in here. You then, if you want a 5th one, you can put it in here. As you lean forward, it's an absolute perfect time to pick up big coins from the back here as you do this, so that when you come here, you can make the demonstration. Well, let's go through that again. I hate this because I can't, the way I would normally do it, I have to do it from a drawer, which is totally impossible. Again, the less time you have to carry something into your hand during performance, the better. There is no way that after a a wild thing like coins can do anything but get more difficult to handle. So you don't want them held there. If you can avoid taking them from various parts of your body, so much the better. Often there's no choice. So the way I do this is absolutely bald and simple. I have the coins that I intend to produce on my table, like that. Now, I don't know how obviously you can see them there, but you can't unless the light is there. Forget, imagine the light is not coming back. It's just a handkerchief on the table. When you get to do it, you just pick those up like that. And that avoids all this rigmarole of finding the coins from the Cervantes or wherever it is. So you've got them in finger palm, however many coins you want. I take 5. You show this. Beautiful music. Lovely fingers. You can half see through it. The hand goes over to the right to act as protection, and you open up underneath. This hand is shown, it comes down, and as you turn this hand over, you grasp all the coins through and throw it over. So that is what happens. This hand is now empty, but the coins are now held in a little pocket in your left hand, and you'll notice I make a channel between my first finger and my little finger, so it's sort of gripped in a channel. They're not loose. They're almost ready for a back palm of a coin position. You're not going to back palm a coin. But that's to give you the channel. Now you do the little flick here, and you actually push up with your thumb. So the first one comes, and you take that. And if you have the right light, it's actually very effective. Show 2. When you're doing this sort of stuff. And the third one, depending on how dramatic you want to be, you're going to get this one. And then finally, your last one, you place it there. Get ready if you want. I used to use this as the last trick that I did for that particular series, so I would get my final load. You got your 2 coins.